Good afternoon. Today we are continuing with the x and the y intercepts, and we are going into the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is something that you will be using for years to come. This is a PO. It is a power objective because this math will build on this. On and on. You use it next year in algebra, you'll use it in high school, you'll use it in calculus. You use the slope-intercept form. Big one for us to know. So, slope-intercept form is the way to write a linear equation that makes it easily graphable based on what the equation tells you about how the line moves across that coordinate plane. So we learned about slopes. We learned about the x and the y intercept. We're putting it all together. Right? That slope, remember, tells us how that line moves. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, that rise over run. And knowing where it hits the x and y intercepts, we're going to know exactly where the line is on that coordinate plane. So, let me just move it up a little so we can see even better. The slope-intercept form. Does anybody know it? Okay. Y equals mx plus b. So, oh my goodness, there are no numbers in there. Whew. We're getting into the big kid math, right? This is grown-up stuff. We're doing just letters. We're going to figure out what those letters mean. Okay. Then we're going to be given numbers to put in so we can solve for different things. So the x is the x value of any ordered pair on the line. Any wild guess on what the y is? What do you think, Robbie?
Y value of any
Yeah, it's the y value of any ordered pair. Let me spell ordered right. So we can get the x's and the y's right from our ordered pair. So you can either see it on the graph, what the x and the y's are, or you see the ordered pair, and we know what to put in. We have two other letters. We have the m and the b. M is our slope. And remember that slope is the rise over the run. How many up or down over how many to the right. Positives and negatives. Remember, if we go up, it's a positive. If we go down, it's the negative. So it's really important that we remember when that slope is going to be negative. That means the line is going down. The B is the y-intercept. So knowing what each of these letters stands for is the first step to being able to use this equation. Okay, so we have to remember x value, the y value, the slope, and how to find that slope, and then that y-intercept, and we know how to find the y-intercept. So we have steps to graphing an equation in the slope-intercept form. So step number 1, you're going to plot the y-intercept. It's where you begin, which starts with the B. So the first thing you do is the B, the y-intercept, the beginning. Okay? So that's the first thing we're gonna do. Then we have step number 2. You're gonna use the slope to get a second point. And that's how you move which is the M. Because remember that slope is how that line moves across the coordinate plane. So the slope tells us how it moves. So that's the second thing we use is the M. Our third step is connect the points with the line. What do we need to remember to put on the ends of our line to prove that it's a line, Graham?
Arrows.
The arrows. Otherwise, it's going to look like a segment. We are, with the slope-intercept form, we are working with lines, so we want to put arrows at the ends, just to show that it's continuing on. So we have 3 steps we're going to follow. Remember, when we go step by step with stuff, it breaks it down and makes it a whole lot easier to do. So in a negative slope, only one of the parts, the numerator or the denominator, is negative. Typically, the sign is put with the numerator so that we stay consistent in having a positive denominator and moving to the right. So if there's a negative number, we put that negative with the numerator. That tells us, remember, that we go down, we count down, and then we count across to the right, whatever the denominator was. Here's where X and Y come in. If graphed correctly, any point on the line will work in the equation. Plug one in and check. So we're going to do that. Make sure that the points that we find are actually working in the equation. So I'll show you how that works. We're going to do a few together. So I need to scroll up. And we're going to do those 3 steps. We're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then we're going to graph each equation. So if we look, remember the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So first question it asks is, what is the y-intercept? So who can look at that equation and tell me what our y-intercept would be? Christina? Remember when we were working with the x-intercept and the y-intercept, how did our answers always look? Remember when we do those intercepts, we put it as an ordered pair. So our first thing is say, oh, that's right, y-intercept, we need an ordered pair. What number can I automatically fill in, Christina? No, what number do I automatically fill in with the y-intercept? And the 0 is going to be for what, the x or the y? The x. So for the y-intercept, we're always going to have a 0 for the x. Now, Christina was thinking that the y is going to be a 3 because we know that b is the y-intercept. I want you to look really carefully and see what you need to change. Do you think you know what it is, LJ? Why would it be negative 3, LJ? Because there's that subtraction, and remember I said that subtraction sign stays with the number to make it that negative. So yesterday when we were working with that subtraction, and I said it stays with to be a negative, that tells us it's a negative 3. So you were super close. If it's adding 3, it would have been a positive 3, and it just would have been 3. But if it's subtracting that y-intercept, it makes it negative. What's our slope? Which letter tells us our slope, Robbie? Nope. Look back at what we just wrote up top. Which letter's the slope, Hadley?
M.
The M. So our M comes before the X. I have a 2 there. So remember with our slopes, we have rise over run. How do you think I should write my slope if I want it to be rise over run, Fallon?
2 over -3.
Nope. That -3 is the y-intercept, we're done with that. We got the y-intercept. 2 over what? 2 as a whole number, how do we make that a fraction? What do we put it over?
2.
Nope, 2 over 2 would be a 1.
Oh, 1.
Yeah, 2 over 1. Well, I don't know why that's such a, so 2 over 1 gives us that rise over the run. So if you ever see a slope as just the whole number, we know that the run would be a 1. So now we know our y-intercept, we know the slope. Okay, so now what do I have to do? I need to graph my equation. What do you think I should do? Is there a point that I can graph? Eleanor, how's the slope? How can I do a slope if I haven't graphed anything? Vivi?
0,
Yeah, I'd have an ordered pair right here. Remember, that's the first step, is that y-intercept. So 0, -3 is going to be right here on the line. That's my second step. David?
You put in you put in your slope, which is rise to over 1.
So my slope is rise over run, up to over 1, because it's a positive 2. So I'm going to go up to over 1, and I end right there. Now what do I do? What's my third step? Christina? Connect the dots. Try to make it as straight of a line as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we don't want it to be wiggly wobbly. Put your arrows at the end. So I've got my y-intercept, I use my slope to find a second point, and then I connect my dots. Now, I could continue that y-intercept on a few more to make sure I have a straighter line. My line was a little wiggle wobbly. You only have to have 2 points to make a line. You can put more points on it if you want to. Now, remember it said up above, it said, if graphed correctly, any point on the line will work in the equation. Plug one in and check. So let's do this point. We have, that point would be 3, 3. If I put that in here, my y is a 3, my slope was 2, my x is a 3, and my y-intercept is a -3. So, does 3 equal 2 times 3 minus 3? Well, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 3. 3 really does equal 3. Any point on the line, if I put it into that slope-intercept form, it will work out so the numbers equal each other. I could do that with this point. I could say, okay, that point is -1, -5. So, my y is -5. Does that equal -1 times 2 minus 3? -1 times 2 is -2 minus 3. Does -5 equal -5? Yes, it does. Any point on that line will make it work. So if you want to double check your answer to see if it worked, you plug in any point on the line to check it. Let's do our next one. We have y equals negative 3/4 x plus 1. What is my y-intercept? Natalie,
0, 1.
we know that that y-intercept is that last number, that b, so it would be 0, 1. What is my slope? Christina? M comes before the x, and that is negative 3/4. So now that I figured those out, what's my first step? Where do I begin? What do I do first? Eleanor?
Plus the y-intercept.
Plot the y-intercept, 0, 1. What's my next step? Claire? Use the slope to find another point. My slope is a negative, so that means I'm going to count down. Negative 3, I go down. 1, 2, 3. And then I have a 4 for my run. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's my third step? Hadley? Connect the points and draw your line. Let's look at our last one. Y equals x plus 3. What is my y-intercept? Harper? 0, 3. Because my y-intercept is that b at the end. What is my slope? What do you think, Graham?
1 over 1.
Very good. Remember I told us that when we have a variable with a number in front of it, it means we multiply, right? What number do we not have to put in front of our variable because it doesn't change the number at all? Harper? 1. So when you just have a variable, we know that it's multiplied by 1. And then Graham said, well, I know if it's a whole number, to make it a fraction, we're going to put a 1 underneath it. So our slope is a positive 1 over 1. See how we found that? So, found my y-intercept. Now I found my slope. What's my first step? Rocco, we're not even on the right page. Let's get on the correct page and work with us. What's my first step, Rocco? Well, what did you do? What was the first thing you did when you did that work ahead of the game? You can't draw, how can I draw a line? I have nothing to connect. What do I have to plot first? I plot the y-intercept, 0, 3. Then I'm going to do the slope. Am I going down 1? I go up 1 because it's positive. So I go up 1 over 1. Then my final step is connecting the line. So when we're working ahead, we miss stuff and we make mistakes. That's the thing with math, friends. When we go quick because we don't want any homework and we're just going to go super fast, we make mistakes and we get things wrong. So is it okay to have math homework sometimes? Yeah. It is okay to have homework. That's how we learn, by doing the work. If we rush it and go really fast, we're not learning it. We're making mistakes, and it's not going to help us. We can see with this objective how our math is building on itself. We learned about slopes in the last unit. We learned about y-intercepts in a different objective. We're putting it all together. And if we're rushing and going fast, you might know the steps, but if you don't do it correctly, you get it wrong. Let's look at our second page. So it says graph the equation, show how you check your work. Oh boy. Remember how I said we're checking our work? You can put in an ordered pair that you find using the slope and make sure it equals each other. So again, you might want to rewrite it so you remember y equals mx plus b. So you remember what each part is. What does it say to show the slope intercept? No. Is it a good idea to write it so you remember it? Yeah. So I know my slope intercept, x is 0, the y is the 1, my slope is 1/3. Okay, so now I'm going to graph it. 0, 1, I go up 1 over 3. I'm going to draw my line, and now I'm going to check it. So I'm going to take my, oops, I'm going to look at what that ordered pair was that I went to. My x was a 3, my y is a 2. Now I'm going to put that 3, 2 into my equation. Y of the 2 equals 1/3 times 3 plus 1. And that 3, I put over 1 because it's we're multiplying it by a fraction. So I made that whole number into a fraction. So, does this work? Does 2 equal 1/3 times 3 plus 1? Well, what's 1/3 times 3? Robbie? 1/3 times 3. So, what's 3 times 3? What's 3 times 1? And then we have 3 times 1. How do I simplify that, Robbie? Yeah. 3 over 3, I don't even have to put it as a fraction. I can just call that 1. Because 3 over 3 is the same as 1. Plus my 1. And look at that. 2 equals 2. I did my rise over run correctly. And that's the big part of this check is, did I use the slope correctly? When we check it, use that second point that you found, plug it into the equation, and make sure that the y equals the mx plus b. Does everybody see how we did that? Let's look at this one. What is my y-intercept? Christina? Because if I don't have anything here, I know that y-intercept is plus something. Well, if there's nothing there, it's plus 0. Because there's nothing there. You don't have to add a 0 when you're doing an equation. You don't have to do that. So if there's nothing there for that y-intercept, we know it's a 0. And we know the y-intercept, the x is always 0, and our y is 0. What's my slope? Eleanor? 2 over 1. Then we're going to do the same math that we've always been doing. Plot that y-intercept, go up 2 over 1, draw your line. Okay, so now I need to check my work. So I'm going to say, all right, this point is 1, 2. I'm going to put that into my line. My y of 2, does that equal 2 times 1? Does 2 equal 2 times 1? It does, because that's 2 equals 2. I did my slope correctly. So what you need to find is your y-intercept. You need to find your slope, plot them, draw your line, then use that point you found with that slope to put it back into your equation of y equals mx plus b. All right, let me scroll up. Oh, it's not winning. I don't know why it's not winning. let's look at the rest of this page. It's more of the same. You're gonna have to figure out when we have, oh, for some reason it's all frozen on me. When we have y equals x, use what we've just talked about. You know what those numbers that are missing are going to be. Figure it out. If there's no variable in front of, there's no number in front of the variable, we know we're multiplying by 1. If it's not plus any number, we know it's plus 0, right? Because we don't have to add that 0. So fill in what you know. When you get to that third page, I don't know why, there we go. We're going to graph the scenario on the coordinate plane provided, then answer the questions. So we're going to use the math that we know already. It looks overwhelming, but it's not. You look outside and see 3 gopher holes. The number of gopher holes will increase by 2 each day. So we're going to label the x-axis and the x-axis is number of days, and that y-axis is gopher holes. Assign values in increments of 1. So we know where the x and the y cross each other at 0. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to go on to the end. Going up, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep going up, counting by ones. B says plot point representing the number of gopher holes for days 0 to 8. Well, on day 0, how many gopher holes did we see? Maybe? You look outside and see 3 gopher holes. 3. So we're going to go up and say we're starting with 3 holes. So already there's 3 holes. So we plot that first point. On the second day, how many gopher holes are we going to see? Eleanor? 5, because it goes up by 2 each time. On the second day, we're going to see 7, right? We're going to keep every day, we see 2 more. Then C says, what is the slope of the line? Beckett? Yeah, we go up 2 over 1. Now write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. What is slope-intercept form? Who knows it? David?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. So let's fill in what we know. We know that y equals the m. Our m is our slope. Plus b. B is that y-intercept. What's the y-intercept? 3. Because when we were at x was 0, y was 3. Knowing what we know, we don't have to finish that graph. We just have to go days 0 to 8. But how many gopher holes will there be after 14 days? Whew. What do we have to do to find that? We're going to use that same equation, y equals, we know our slope is 2 over 1, times, what is our x? Our x is the number of days, plus 3. So you have to do the math to figure out what y equals. Well, I'm going to make you do the math on that. Solve that equation. When you go down to that number 2, you're gonna set that graph up the same way. Just follow it step by step and be able to fill in what you need to know. Any questions? Okay, go ahead and get to work. If you're listening at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.